Vishnupada Brahmam Subrabhaksharya Asidhar Shri Shriman His Divine Grace Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Samstabacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Vishnupada Nam Oma Gyanadhimirandasya Gyananjana Sulakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stabitam Yena Bhukulaya Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Yadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakam Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Vigatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sudhadevi Pranamami Hripriye Panchakapa Trivesha Kripa Sindhuvyevacha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, the Hangsadhuya Prayer, 615. Alam Dogar Der Gumara Dinai
Alam Dagdar Trumar Dinai.
Kilanam Shiva Astuva
Imanam Shivam Astuva.
Vakshi Yesha Varakanya
Vakshi Yesha Varakanya.
Punidve Pratigriyatam
Panipe Pratikriyatam.
Alam Dagdara Drumara Dinai
Alam Dagdar Trumar Dinai.
Kilanam Shiva Astuva
Ivanam Shivam Astuva.
Vakshi Yesha Varakanya
Vakshi Yesha Varakanya.
Putnitve Pratigriyatam
Panipe Pratikriyatam. Alam Dagdar Trumar Dinai. Alam Dagdar Trumar Dinai. Ilanam Shivam Astuva.
Kilanam Shiva Astuva
Vakshi Yesha Varakanya.
Vakshi Yesha Varakanya
Patnitve Pratigriyatam.
Patnitve Grihitvatam
Alam Dagdar Trumar Dinai.
Alam Dagdara Dumara Dinai
Ilanam Shivam Astuva.
Kilanam Shiva Astuva
Vakshi Yesha Varakanya.
Vakshi Yesha Varakanya Patnitve Pratigriyatam Alam Enough Dagdai with burning Drumai the trees Dinai poor Kilanam the remainder of the trees Shiva all good fortune Astu let there be Vaha of you Vakshi raised by the trees. He, indeed, Aisha, this, Vara, choice, Kanya, daughter, Patnitve, unto wifehood, Pratigriyatam, let her be accepted. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, his only translation. There is no need to burn these poor trees any longer. Let whatever trees shall remain be happy. Indeed, you should also be happy. Now, here is a beautiful, well-called, raised by the trees as their daughter. You may accept this beautiful girl as your wife. So, keep on reading. Shukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, after thus pacifying the Prachetas, Sama, the king of the moon, gave them the beautiful girl born from Locha, Apsara. The Prachetas all received from Locha his daughter, who had high, beautiful hips, and married her according to the religious system. In the womb of that girl, the Prachetas all begot a son named Daksha, who filled the three worlds with living entities. Purport, Daksha, who was first born during the reign of Swayambhuva Manu, but because of offending Lord Shiva, he was punished by having the head of a goat substituted for his own head. Thus insulted, he had to give up that body, and in the sixth Manvantara called Chakshusha Manvantara, he was born of the womb of Marisha as Daksha. In this connection, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes this verse. Chakshushe Tvantare Prapte Praksarge Kala Vidrute Yak Sasarga Vraja Ishta Sadaksho Daiva Chodita. His previous body had been destroyed, but he, the same Daksha, inspired by the Supreme Will, created all the desired living entities in the Chakshusha Manvantara. Thus, Daksha regained his previous opulence and again begat thousands and millions of children in order to fill the three worlds. 18. Shukadeva Goswami continued, please hear from me with great attention how Prajapati Daksha, who was very affectionate to his daughters, created different types of living entities through his semen and through his mind. Purport, the word Durhitri Vatsala indicates that all the Prajas were born from Daksha's daughters. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says apparently Daksha had no son. Well, I think he did have sons, had he? 20,000 of them. Then he had 10,000 of them. But none of them, they all became Brahmin, they all became sannyasis. So he had no son who gave any offspring. With his mind, Prajapati Daksha had created all kinds of demigods, demons, human beings, birds, beasts, aquatics, and so on. First created. First you have to create the beings within your mind, and then you can create them in some other way. When Prajapati Daksha saw that he was not properly generating all kinds of living entities, he approached a mountain near the Vindhya mountain range. There he executed very difficult austerities. In that mountain was a very holy place named Aga Marshana. Aga means sinful. And Marshana, I guess, means purifying of sinful activities. There Prajapati Daksha executed ritualistic ceremonies and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, engaged in great austerities to please him. My dear King, I shall fully explain to you the Hamsagulya prayers which were offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Daksha, and I shall explain how the Lord was pleased with him for those prayers. Purport, and it is to be understood that the Hamsagulya prayers were not composed by Daksha, was existing in the Vedic literature. Next. 23. Prajapati Daksha said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to the illusory energy and the physical categories it produces. He possesses the potency for unfailing knowledge and supreme willpower, and he is the controller of the living entities and the illusory energy. Conditioned souls who have accepted this material manifestation as everything cannot see him, for he is above the evidence of the experimental knowledge. Self-evident and self-sufficient, he is not caused by any superior cause. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. Transcendental. He is not perceivable by the conditioned souls, who are accustomed to material vision, cannot understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists in his abode, which is beyond that vision. Even if a materialistic person could count all the atoms in the universe, he would still be unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 534. Pantastu koti shatavatsara sampragamyo vayur atapi manaso manipundavanam sopyasti yat prapadasindya vichintya tatte govindamadi purushan tamaham bhajami. Conditioned souls may try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead for many billions of years through their mental speculative processes, traveling at the speed of the mind or the wind, but still the absolute truth will remain inconceivable to them because a materialistic person cannot measure the length and breadth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's unlimited existence. If the absolute truth is beyond measurement, one may ask, how can one realize him? The answer is given here by the word Swayambhuve. One may understand him or not, but nevertheless, he is existing in his own spiritual potency. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shrivadi Paschadya Desitarne. All these great personalities keep on repeating the same thing again and again about how Krishna is transcendental, that he's beyond the modes of material nature, he's beyond illusion, he's a controller. Just to remind us, because as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya dharatya mama evaye prapadyante mame tam tarantite. That this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes, is difficult to overcome. Those who have taken shelter of me can easily cross beyond it. So our problem is that we have a problem that we're an illusion, and we have a bigger problem is that we don't think we're an illusion. It's bad enough to be an illusion, but if we don't know that we're an illusion, and we don't know what the problem of being an illusion, we think I have a good illusion, so why would I want to give it up? If we don't understand the problems of being an illusion, then we won't want to give it up. And being an illusion, it's very difficult to understand the process of giving up illusion, because if we understood the process, we wouldn't be an illusion. Therefore, only gradually we can try to understand, not simply by our intellectual prowess, but by learning the process of submission. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi prani patena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshantike jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanaha. Let's try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So only if we hear from a self-realized person like Srila Prabhupada can actually we make progress, or if we hear from those who have heard from Prabhupada, they can also help us. But basically speaking, we have to hear the process of how to get out of illusion. But of course, since we're an illusion, we can't hear very well. We don't like to hear, and therefore Krishna doesn't help us hear, because Krishna is fulfilling our desires. Otherwise, if we heard the name of Krishna once, we'd be self-realized. If we could just chant it once, we'd be self-realized. If we could hear it spoken by a self-realized person who's actually crying out to Krishna out of pure love, and we actually heard it, then we could also cry for Krishna out of pure love. But the problem is, first of all, we don't believe in Krishna that much. So where's there any question of crying out to Krishna out of pure love? And the second thing is, we have so many things we're attached to that we're afraid if we did that, we lose all those things. It's more or less called illusion, which is a product of ignorance. And therefore, because we don't cry out to Krishna out of love, because we can't hear the pure devotee crying for Krishna out of love, and therefore experience the loving ecstasy that he's experiencing, namely being situated in the spiritual world, he is experiencing the spiritual world. Therefore, we become attracted to other things to make ourselves happy, because we have to be happy. And if we have to squeeze a little happiness out of the material world, then that's better than no happiness whatsoever. Even if the happiness is only mental, still it's better than nothing, we think. Therefore, devotional service is a fight between trying to recognize that we're an illusion and accepting the fact accepting the process of getting out of illusion. So that process is, Krishna says, is bhakti. Bhakti mam abhijananti yavanyashasmi tatvataha. Tato mam tatvato gyatva vishite tad anantaram. That one can understand me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead only through the process of bhakti. And when one is actually engaged in devotional service, he can enter into the mysteries of my understanding. But there's a problem there also, that we have love, but it's directed towards the wrong things. We have plenty of love. People love soccer. They love their pet. They love so many things. The problem with that is that it doesn't help us very much understand Krishna. Because Krishna says, Madi Vama Dambi Vama Hingsa Shanti Arjavama Acharya Pasanam Socham Styriam Atman Vinigraha. That there's a process of being able to hear even from a self-realized person. And it begins with humility. That humility and love are connected together, because you can't love someone if you think that you're better than them. There's no question of appreciation if you think you're great and everyone else is small. And appreciation is a very minute particle of love, real love. Just like people appreciate a very big sports fan, so that they call that love. But if you think you're the greatest soccer player in the world, then it's very hard to appreciate everyone else as a soccer player. And therefore, Amadi Vama Dhammi Vama Hingsa Shanti Arja Vama Charya Pasanam, even before we can hear from a self-realized person about what spiritual life is all about, or even how to get out of material life, it begins with humility. But we're puffed up because we think we're this body. We think this body has so many assets. And therefore, why should I be humble? Because I have so many things going for me. Namely, I have a big false ego and a big illusion, which we're proud of. But if I'm not this body, then there's nothing wrong with the body. This is Krishna's energy. What's wrong is that we think that we're the body, and even worse than that, we think we're something special because we think we're this body. But actually, we're nothing special because everyone has a material body. Just like if you go to a jail and everyone's a prisoner. So if you think I have the best prison cell, you're an illusion, because all the prison cells are not best. They're all worst. So if I take pride in this body, which I'm not, then it's simply mental speculation. Just like if you watch a movie and the hero is whatever, he jumps over a bridge or something, you think, wow, I'm great. But you haven't done anything. You just watch the movie and somehow or another, due to identification, you feel that you're important. So we're watching this body go through its motions. Because we're identified with it, we think we're doing something special. But actually, we're not doing anything. We're simply observing and trying to take credit for an illusion. The body's not an illusion. It's an illusion in the sense it's something that we think it's something, but it's actually not. It's just a combination of the earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego being directed by the modes, which are under time, which is so Krishna's energy, and we're observing it and desiring on the basis of what our experience is, and therefore Krishna is making further arrangements in the material world to fulfill our desires according to what we deserve. In any case, we're not doing anything. In one sense, we're not even entangled. Krishna says, Amadi Vamadami Vamahimsana, Anadi Vamunigunavat Paramatmayam Avyam Shurira Stopkantyana Karotinam Lipyate. For those who can actually see with the eyes of eternity, in other words, those who can actually see what's actually going on here, rather than what we think is going on, can see that the soul is eternal, which is what Krishna explains in the first instruction to Arjuna. Eternal, transcendental. We're not only eternal, but we're not even part of the material world. Beyond the modes of material nature, that we're not even being influenced by the material nature. We're simply being subjected to the experience of the modes of material nature. Despite contact with the material body or Arjuna, so we're definitely contacted with our consciousness. We're certainly aware of this body. The soul is neither doing anything nor is it entangled. What we're doing is wasting our time in a conditioned life. Just going from the goodness to passion, ignorance, maybe back to passion and goodness, and they just experiencing different modes of material nature. What is it? Krishna says, Purusha prakriti sohi, punkte prakriti jangunan, karna guna sangosya, sad asad yoni janmasu. Thus the living entity follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes. This is due to his association with those three modes, thus he meets with both good and evil amongst the various species. So due to our desires to go from passion to ignorance, or ignorance to passion, or goodness, whatever, therefore we're winding up in different bodies and enjoying them, flying in the sky like a bird, swimming like a fish, whatever. In any case, we're always trying to survive, which is the main accomplishment in the material world. Try to have this body survive, and then it dies anyhow, no matter what we do. And we get another one to try to get that one to survive, and it dies too. So this is called Shrama Eva Kevalam. It's just a waste of time, working so hard to maintain a material body, which ultimately we're not. And then it disappears, and we have to take another one, another illusory identification. Therefore, one should try to understand our relation with Krishna, and despite whatever goes on in the material world, try to revive that relation with Krishna. Because actually, our real relation with Krishna, because he's directing this whole illusory experience we have, because that's what we want. And if we want a relation with Krishna, then gradually the illusory experience will go away. Not that our body will go away, because it's already going away. Every moment it's changing. So it's always going away. It's not that we become Krishna conscious and the body won't go away. It's always going away. We can't stop it from going away. Nor does it make any difference to ourselves. This is all going away by Krishna's arrangement. He's the one who's controlling the whole thing. But if we agree to utilize desire simply to utilize his body in Krishna's service, then Krishna will find us something to do in his service. And basically his service will be to serve him. And then when we realize how great he is, how wonderful he is, not only how he's pervading everything and he's controlling everything, that's For a pure devotee, that's not very important. What's great about Krishna is the fact that he's the most affectionate and loving, the most friend of his devotee. That's what's most important. So when we find out how wonderful and loving Krishna is, then automatically we'll become humble because there's no way we can. Everyone's trying to compete in the material world to become great, and Krishna is trying to compete to serve. And we can't compete with Krishna because he's the most loving, the most wonderful devotee. And he's the most powerful, and he serves his devotees even in a way that even the devotees can't comprehend. So therefore one will become humble, and when one sees all the other devotees as engaged in the pastime with Krishna, trying to please him, then one will also appreciate all the other devotees, rather than as competitors in the material world to maintain their body at the expense of other living entities, or their minds, or whatever they're trying to do here. So here, Daksha is offering prayers because basically speaking, he, as a conditioned soul, is an illusion, like the rest of us. But he just has a bigger illusion, that's all. He's thinking that if he had, of course, he's dutiful, and therefore his illusion is not as bad as ours if we're not dutiful. He wants unlimited sex life, but that's not so bad because he wants it on behalf of Krishna. Although unlimited sex life cannot satisfy one because sex life is only temporary. Yehi samsparshya bhoga dukkha yana evate adhyantavanta kondyana te shuramate buddha. An intelligent person doesn't take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the senses, with their objects. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, so the wise person doesn't delight in them. In other words, since sex life or any other kind of sense gratification is temporary, therefore it can only satisfy us, and then we'll hanker for more of it. And that hankering is very unpleasant. It's very painful. And then if we remember sense gratification, then it's even more painful lamenting. So the happiness is just momentarily, and the stress goes on and on, perpetually increasing. Therefore, an intelligent person realizing how bad a bargain that kind of happiness is, doesn't take it so seriously. And therefore, kama krodha vimuktaisthu vishenindriyastran atmavat. Kama krodha vimuktanam, that's probably the next one. Shaknoti haiva yakshodam praksharira vimokshana kama krodha bhavandegan siyukta sasukinara. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and he is happy in this world. So it takes just a little bit of intelligence. Little intelligence, how our real problems are old age, disease, and death. And considering that with this body, why accept it? And we're not this body. Why accept something temporary when we can accept something eternal? So that little bit of intelligence. And without that intelligence, everyone is a fool. Bigger fools and little fools, but everyone is a fool. Bigger illusion doesn't make you less of it being an illusion. One may think I'm a great personality, I have 4 heads, I'm controlling the universe, but if one is not doing it on behalf of Krishna, then one is simply wasting his time. Because he's not Brahma, he's not controlling the universe, it's Krishna, he's simply experiencing it. Maybe due to pious activities, the experience is much nicer than a conditioned soul with less pious activities. But it's temporary. And therefore, in a very short period of time, one will have to come back to the material world in another form. As a matter of fact, it says in the 9th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam that we all started out as Brahmas or highly placed demigods. And here we are now. So what good did it do us? And what good will this body do us? We become a dog in our next lifetime. Therefore, an intelligent person, he takes the Krishna consciousness and he prays to go to revive his relation with Krishna. We may not know Krishna, we may not know what our relation with Krishna is, but we should at least strive for it and then see what the difference is between that and trying for something else. We don't have to give up our illusion because we can't do it anyhow. All we can do is try to do the things that will please Krishna so that Krishna can take our illusion away by giving us himself. As he reveals himself, the illusion goes away. But if we're attached to the illusion, then Krishna can't reveal himself. And therefore we struggle in the material world, struggling to become Krishna conscious while maintaining our illusion. So Daksha, he has an opportunity to serve Krishna, and he'll get some more lessons, like all of us are getting lessons. That you may be dutiful, but we can only be actions even to, if we're Daksha again and Narada Muni, because the result of sense gratification is we want offensive. If we don't become loving, we'll become offensive. So sense gratification leads to offenses. Because without Krishna, there's no question of humility, and without humility, there's no question of love. So we may pretend we're in love, we're actually in lust, and therefore out of lust will come greed, we'll exploit other living entities, will come anger, frustration, our illusion will increase, our loss of memory of our real nature will be taken away from us. And therefore our activities will all be out of lust, anger, and greed, even more intensely. Not exactly loving exchanges with others, although we may imagine that that's what they are. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. You just last point you made about sense gratification makes one offensive. Can you elaborate more on that? How can one recognize that he become offensive? Like this example of Rupa Goswami when he was just he wasn't feeling sense gratification, but he was absorbed in Krishna Lila, but suddenly he made an offense. Sometimes we commit offenses without knowing.
And that's pastime.
Yeah,
that's not special. That's for our understanding how careful we have to be.
Yeah,
there's no offense.
Yeah,
but as Queen Kundi said, our disturbances in the material world are due to our interactions with each other, the material energy. So as soon as we forget Krishna, then everything we're doing is offensive. We don't serve Krishna Bahi Mukha Bhagavan Shatari, Ikatasta Japtari Japati Adari. The Maya is right there. As soon as we turn our face away from Krishna, then Maya slaps us down. But we're used to it. We think it's normal. We justify it. Whatever we're doing, we think it's all right. We have no problem with it. Until things get bad enough, then we start realizing maybe I do have a problem. And then we may surrender a little bit. Or if we're intelligent enough to listen, then we may be more careful, and then we may observe the fact that I may believe I have a nice relation with others. I may believe so many things, but until I become fully conscious of Krishna, I'm still faulting some intelligence that I actually relate to others properly. The spiritual world is an exchange of loving exchanges. And here we might be polite sometimes and think that's love, but that's not quite up to the level of loving exchange. But we practice. We practice loving exchanges, and at least we might become polite. So that's a great advancement. And that might lead us to getting some of Krishna's mercy, and Krishna may reveal to us a little drop of what really loving exchanges are. Then we'll understand what the real standard is, rather than what we imagine the standard is of relationships. Anything else? Yes.
Yes. Very wonderful point you made that in material world, everyone tries to become great, but Krishna competes to serve everyone. So can you elaborate more on how Krishna serving everyone?
Well, without Krishna's energy, there wouldn't be anything here. It's all his energy. And without Krishna being in our heart, we wouldn't be able to do anything. We wouldn't have anything to desire. And we wouldn't even know what was going on unless Krishna told us what was going on here. And besides that, if Krishna didn't help us forget all the problems we went through, we'd be completely crazy instead of only partially crazy. We had to remember all the horrible things we went through in our past. So he also gives us forgetfulness. So he creates this world for our playground of illusion. So that's service. And he goes with us through travel through the 8,400,000 species of life. I mean, who else would do that except for Krishna? If you're going to become a dear mom, they're going to make me a hog next week. Can you become my mother? Mother hog. Even our mother would think twice. But Krishna comes with us, despite the fact that we're in a hog's body, whatever body we come into. So that's real service. We don't deserve it. We haven't done anything. So that Krishna would spend so much effort trying to get us back to the spiritual world. Therefore, it's called causeless. Simply out of love. Anything else? Thank you, Grantharaj, Srimad-Bhagavatam.